Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's a bit of a red week, down about 4%, about 16,000. It's mainly across the altcoins, as sort of smaller altcoins as far as the big percentages go. Bitcoin and Ethereum not holding up too bad, but we're still in this sort of sideways to slightly down market, it seems. Looking at the coin shares report, we did get, as expected, sort of said last week we knew this was going to be a red week because we see the US inflows a little bit before this, but I still like it to just get a bit more of the broader market. So we had 600 million in outflows. That was mostly on Bitcoin, 621 million outflow on Bitcoin, 13 million inflow into Ethereum, so not too bad. Slight outflow from multi-asset and Solana. Inflows into Binance Litecoin, short Bitcoin, fair enough. XRP though, Cardano and Chainlink. So a little bit unusual. I'm guessing these will sort of largely be red in the coming one tomorrow, since we've sort of seen a fair bit of red for the week. Other as well, 4.1 million inflow into other coins sort of from these. So interesting. The by country, we've seen quite a few outflows: Sweden, Switzerland, Canada, Brazil. Can never stop them buying, it seems. Australia as well, tiny little inflow, a little bit into Germany. And looking at this week's data, we have seen a full week of outflows. So, yeah, it's pretty much 2 weeks of outflows now. You're sort of broken up by a 1 day 100 million inflow and a US bank holiday. Other than that, it's sort of fairly consistent, 150, 200 million outflows from the ETFs. None of this at all is from BlackRock, interestingly. This is sort of largely Fidelity and just continue sales from Grayscale. So fair enough. And as well, ARK. I will say ARK are likely the sort of most I would call them emotional traders. Or there is sort of discussion that certainly some of the Fidelity ones is people doing this basis trade where you sort of short futures and buy the spot. So people have been doing that for a little while, and maybe this is just a little bit of an unwind. They're sort of done with that trade for a little bit. It's sort of a reasonable trade. I think in the more sort of bullish times, you could get 20% a year doing that, and sort of maybe that's come down a little. TradFi, Wall Street are perfectly happy with 20% a year. They'd see that as an incredibly successful year. So anything that can sort of get you that with very little risk is something that they'll do. But if that returns come down a little now the market has cooled off, then yeah, they'll unwind this, and potentially that's why they're selling off some of the Fidelity ETF if they were using that as their spot exposure. Obviously, Grayscale you would just assume is continued selling from the high fee ETF. So yeah, we're going to get obviously another large negative on the coin shares report. See how the other countries and other coins are doing. In case you haven't seen the news, you can't stop Michael Saylor from issuing new shares. He has ended up 786 million share issue. It was sort of 500. He rose it to 700 and allowed people to buy a little bit more, and it looks like they have. And he has bought 11,931 Bitcoin with it. So, yeah. Oh, it's some of that was from cash as well, but from what I understand, they don't really make a whole lot of money at all. So, can't imagine it was that much excess cash. But yeah, he's sort of bought it at an average of 65.8, and yeah, his total position now, or their total position, is 226,300 at an average price of 36,800, inclusive of fees and expenses. So they are very much up on the trade. 14.9 billion's worth of Bitcoin at a cost of 8.3 billion. So obviously he's getting called a genius. And there is a little bit of discussion whether this is just, a bit of fun on Twitter or if there was anything more serious. But a sort of light-hearted back and forth between Michael Dell and Michael Saylor. You know, Mr. Dell, for some reason, I guess, a conversation with someone else. Posted scarcity creates value, and Saylor sort of responded, Bitcoin is digital scarcity, which, not sure whether Michael Dell knew Saylor, but he didn't sort of go back and ignore it or block him or anything. He reposted it, so it's people seeing that as an endorsement, and he sort of responded with this me Cookie Monster picture with the Bitcoin symbols. And yeah, people are sort of pointing out whether this could mean Dell are potentially looking to put some of their balance sheet cash into Bitcoin. They have 34 billion in current assets with 5.8 billion in cash and cash equivalents. So, some people are saying, oh, they could put $1 billion into Bitcoin and start sort of, obviously not going the Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy way. They're still going to have a business, of course, selling computers. But yeah, potentially putting, part of the cash balance into Bitcoin, even though you're getting sort of 5% plus on that cash. Something worth bearing in mind that could be contributing to the latest sell-offs is we still have a lot of government and sort of large sellers. Germany, I didn't realise, seized $3 billion worth of Bitcoin from a pirating website a very, very long while ago, from the looks of it. This is from back in 2013, movie2k.2, a film piracy website, last active back in 2013. The Bitcoin was transferred to the German Federal Criminal Police Office in mid-January, following a voluntary handover from the suspects. So whether that's sort of a plea bargain or something, we'll give you the money and, reduce our sentence. But yeah, it's looking like the public is aware of these wallets, and they've been selling sort of anywhere up to $200 million per day of that Bitcoin. And so, yeah, when you haven't got retail sort of piling in, 200 million in a day can cause sort of a fair bit of outflow. When you've got sort of outflows from the ETFs as well. Obviously, this isn't the ETFs. This is, Bitcoin in cold storage, presumably, just going on to Coinbase and other exchanges, as they say, being funneled to Coinbase, Kraken, and Bitstamp. So they've potentially got a lot more selling to do. They've got $3 billion's worth, about 50,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, they don't want to dump the whole lot from the looks of it. They will be instructed to try and sell this in a sort of sensitive way as to not affect the price too much. But yeah, over 195 million. They sent 65 million in the last 2 hours. That was on that Friday. So yeah, it's another big seller. Obviously, you have the US government actually still hold rather a lot. I think it was 200,000 Bitcoin at one point from various places, including the Silk Road, and they have been selling quite a bit. But yeah, I think they still have a fair few billions worth. And then, of course, you have the Mt. Gox Bitcoin potentially coming out to sellers, to holders that are potentially sellers. I think they said they want that done by October. So whether they're going to do it in dribs and drabs or sort of try and do it in a very short window. But yeah, by October, you potentially have, 160,000 Bitcoin going out to people. So yeah, we've potentially still got a lot of selling. And this isn't just sort of the public capitulating, basically. So that, coupled with sort of the way the altcoin market does seem to work, is sort of really what's hitting altcoins at the moment. You sort of have a lot of the large tokens having token unlocks. The way they're sort of funded, they take large venture capital money in the beginning, they'll give them loads and loads of tokens at 1 cent, and then sort of launch the token at sort of $1. Eventually the VC funds are up 100x or 50x or however much they are, and they're going to sell basically when those tokens unlock. Even if it drops down 10-20% at launch, they're still up 25x, 40x. They're going to sell regardless, and there doesn't seem to be a better way that people have found to fund these projects, or certainly having terms that would lock the tokens from VC funds from doing this selling, basically. When you have this selling and not a lot of new retail funds coming into the space, which it doesn't seem to be, most of the inflows have come from institutions. So far this year, it's going into Bitcoin ETFs. That doesn't sort of make its way into altcoins as sort of previous bull runs have. People sort of buy Bitcoin, start with Bitcoin, make a fortune in that, and then sort of sell it off and think, well, I'll go a little bit more degen and go into altcoins and that sort of thing. Whereas institutions will buy the Bitcoin ETF, be up 100%, and they'll sell the ETF and buy other stocks or bonds or something else. They don't go into altcoins. So you have no real money sort of rotating into altcoins, and you have huge sort of unlocks and selling pressure from venture capital firms. Just leads to continued red market for altcoins, basically. Noted as well that while stablecoin issuance is increasing, this looks like stablecoins are potentially being used for sort of remittance and various other use cases that are positive. People always saw this as a reason to use stablecoins, but they're not using it to trade. Stablecoin balance on exchanges, which they're saying translates to dry powder for traders and investors, decreased 4 billion to the lowest level since February. So people aren't sort of holding on to stablecoins on exchanges, waiting to buy the dip in altcoins. The fact Tether and USDC have been rising is potentially just increased demand for dollars, basically, around the world. People that don't have access to dollars and sort of want to do remittance or escape inflation and that sort of thing. And again, they're not going to put those stable coins into sort of random top 30, top 100, top 500 altcoins. So there's just no buy pressure. It's an interesting article as well, just sort of, again, highlighting the increased use for stable coins and how they've still got potentially a large amount of headroom for growth. Tether has joined partnered with the Telegram network and their Ton coin, and they have obviously an awful lot of users. I think people are saying 700 or 800 million users, and sort of scroll down and see where these users are. It's sort of BRICS nations. They have got 29 million downloads in looks like 2023 in the US, but 35 million in Russia and 83 million in India. Indonesia and Brazil as well, Vietnam, sort of emerging markets. They're not using WhatsApp, I guess. They're using Telegram for a large part. Maybe they're using WhatsApp as well. But yeah, Telegram is sort of seen as a little bit less big tech, a little bit less Western. And yeah, they've integrated with USDT. So you start getting, all these sort of hundreds of millions of people potentially wanting to sort of transfer money around on the Telegram network. They could potentially use USDT. So it's another thing that would boost stablecoin issuance, but not altcoins. So where people sort of see stablecoins as they called it, dry powder potentially, money ready to go into altcoins, that may not be the case. And I do love mocking the SEC. The crypto enforcer David Hirsch has quit. He was the chief of the crypto asset unit in the enforcement division of the SEC. He has left. He announced it on LinkedIn. Didn't really say why he was leaving, just said this Friday was my last day with the SEC after almost 9 years. Proud of the historic work being done by the crypto assets and cyber unit team he had the privilege to lead. Every success I was a part of was the direct result of collaboration and combined efforts towards a common goal. And he didn't say what his next position would be, but he would be sharing more about it soon. So, yeah, Tenner says he ends up at a crypto-focused company within the next 5 years. I think most people would agree. Yeah, not really saying why he was leaving. Previously acknowledged that the agency's current litigation load is heavy, and that the SEC can't go after everything, but that it was done chasing down those it sees as violating securities laws. So, yeah, not sure you can read too much between the lines here. He's sort of being quite, quite secretive, but yeah, he's not the only one to be leaving the SEC at the moment. And a small positive to end on, Canada have listed their first Solana ETP on the Toronto exchange. So it's not the first Solana one. We did sort of highlight that Europe actually have various ETFs under the 21 shares banner. Sort of coins that I wouldn't have expected, Tezos and all sorts really. Basic attention token. So yeah, it's not the first, but Canada is sort of a reasonable market. Wondering whether Canada is a stepping stone to a US one eventually. I think we would need to see sort of a sizable futures market in Solana on the CME. If anything's to go by before, that's sort of one of the main reasons that the US ones have got approved, and we don't have a Solana futures market on the CME. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, a Solana ETP in Canada can only be good news. So looking at this week's bloodbath, it's not a bloodbath obviously, but Bitcoin is down 2.6%, fairly small. Solana down 6.6%. Ethereum down 1.27. It's actually sort of one of the better performers for the week. It's holding up reasonably well, despite no burning. Chainlink down 8%. Cardano down 5.6. XRP almost entirely flat. I am sort of still keeping an eye on the options market and sort of my more bullish, potentially high conviction bets, and seriously considering selling both Cardano and XRP, depending on what prices do. But yeah, we'll see. Gala down 12.5%, so you start getting to the bigger reds. Audius down 11.2%. Matic down 4.8%. Powerledger down 11%. Quant down 7.5%. Internet Computer down 10%. Basic Attention Token down 10%. And VeChain down 9.3%. So, as I say, as far as percentages go, it's the smaller altcoins, bigger players sort of holding up reasonably well. Admittedly, my fair few of my altcoins aren't the sort of VC coins. These are sort of very old ones that don't have a huge amount of unlocks, but yeah, they're altcoins from previous cycles, and there's a lot of talk at the moment that coins from last cycle sort of may never reach all-time high again. You have an enormous amount of new coins on the market now, and yeah, maybe they never get there. Whereas, to get to all-time highs, I'd be looking at least a 10x, and I sort of have option bets that I think could do way more than 10x, especially if we get a bit more of a drawdown sort of next month. So yeah, potentially making that switch, but we'll have to see. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.